Well, hello, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the first session of our elementary virtual National Agriculture in the Classroom Conference. Again, our virtual National Ag in the Classroom Conference is sponsored by CHS and BASF. And if you add NAITCO, that's the National Ag in the Classroom organization, we're using about half of the letters in the alphabet. So just remember those. BASF, CHF, and NATCO, you've got them all there together. We are super excited to have with us Sue Knott. And Sue is, she joined us in Utah with this presentation, but additionally, Sue is already planning for the next conference coming up. Look at her, now she's like scratching her head. Now it's all panic, but planning for Minneapolis. We'll be coming to Minneapolis, and so we're excited to have her kick off. And if there's anybody that can follow Jackie Briggs Martin, that's Sue Knott, here to talk about exceeding expectation with seed. So I'm going to turn it over to Sue. I'll be monitoring the chat and the Q&A, and that's what we'll go. This is being recorded. We will post those. It's got to record to the cloud. I got to download the stuff. I've got to send it to them. It'll be the middle of next week before it's posted, or earlier. Watch for a notice on Facebook. But we're going to turn this over to Sue. Sue, thanks for joining us, and we can't wait to hear what you got.
Thanks, Kevin. And yes, Jacqueline Briggs Martin is a very tough act to follow, but I will try to do my best. And also, like Kevin said, we are so excited to host the National Ag in the Classroom Conference in June of 2025 in Minneapolis. So mark your calendars, June 23rd through 26th. Plan to join us. We're hoping to have, fantastic weather and all sorts of fantastic things for you guys to do. So like Kevin said, I have a virtual workshop that I'm going to present or share with you guys on seeds. And I'm curious if you guys could just drop in the Q&A. I think we're using the Q&A. If you were able to attend the national conference in person in Utah, why don't you or you could use the hands up, I don't know, whatever you want to do. Let me know, because that would be fun to know if you were there. And some of you, maybe we're here when I told Kevin this. I have a brand new setup. I had some technical difficulties with my screen, so I have new ones, but my camera's in a different spot. So if I'm looking all around, try not to be distracted. It's going to be great. So I want to present or share with you exceeding expectations with seeds. So this QR code, if you want to follow along, I think you should be able to put your phone up to the screen, scan that, and it'll go to a Google site where these slides are, and you can follow along with me. But I'm Sue Knott. I'm an education specialist here in Minnesota. I am a lifelong Minnesotan. I grew up in the southwestern part of the state on a family farm where we raised crops and a little bit of livestock. I attended the University of Minnesota and earned a degree in agricultural education. I was a classroom ag teacher and FFA advisor for 10 years. And I've been in with Minnesota Agriculture in the Classroom as an education specialist for the last 12. So that's a little bit of my background. What I hope to do with you guys in the next 45 minutes is first of all, give you a few opportunities to engage. And I know sometimes virtual webinars are a little bit more, you're more of a passive learner, but I will give you guys some opportunities to respond, to share your thoughts, to maybe go to some links. If you're someone like me who appreciates those opportunities to engage, go for it. I feel like if I don't do that as a listener or attendee at virtual meetings and webinars, I start checking my email, or I'm distracted by a pile of things over here I need to do. So I'm trying to keep you with me. If you're someone who is fine just sitting back and being a learner that way, that's fine too. But just warning, there is some opportunities to engage and share your thoughts. So take advantage if you want, but if you don't, that's fine too. So I have 7 bullet points of what we're going to do. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about agriculture and why it's something you might want to consider using in your K through 12 curricula. We'll talk about why seeds, why I think they're pretty awesome. And we'll make a seed journal. We'll do some observations with seeds, talk about seed germination, seed saving, and finally, some do-it-yourself seed tape. So let's dive in. So first of all, National Agriculture in the Classroom. This is an organization that our Minnesota Agriculture in the Classroom program is part of. Almost every state has an Ag in the Classroom program, and maybe you're very familiar with yours in your state, or maybe this is your first introduction. Whatever it is, know that there are many, many resources available to support you in integrating agriculture using food, plants, and animals as a context for learning for students in academic areas like science, social studies, language arts, health and nutrition, all of those really great things. So our goal, you can read right here, the National Ag in the Classroom, the umbrella organization, that encompasses all states Ag in the Classroom programs, we have the same shared vision and mission. We really want everyone to value agriculture. And we think those students and their teachers, you guys, and parents and other, people connected with those K through 12 students are a great audience to work with because, they're required by law to achieve academic standards in science and social studies and language arts. And we feel like if we can weave a little bit of plants, animals, and food in there, that it's not only going to be engaging for those students and it's going to be fun, but they'll also get a little taste of what agriculture is all about. And that can grow agricultural literacy. And you can see the definition right here on the screen, which I will share with you.
Thanks, Sue. I was just going to bring that up. There we go.
Yeah, I was like, I thought I was sharing all along, but I wasn't. But here you go. So this is actually slide number 3, you guys, but that's okay. Let me go back. Actually, this is the QR code if you guys wanted to follow along. So you can scan that QR code right here, and then these slides, they'll pop up and you can click on links and do whatever you want. Yeah, please interrupt me, Kevin, or anyone else if if what you're seeing does not match up with what I'm saying, but hopefully we'll be good from now on. All right, so here was the plan that I went through. Here's those vision and mission and what agricultural literacy is all about. Someone who's agriculturally literate understands how agriculture affects their life every day, and they can tell other people about that. So I picked 3 pictures right here to hopefully ingrain in your brain what agriculture literacy is all about. So I have a cheese pizza, this sweater, scarf, and sock combination, which, I am not wearing today in Minnesota, but in January, February, it comes in handy. And then toilet paper, which I feel like had its moment during COVID when it was very, very important and hard to find. So if we would ask the average, kindergarten through 12th grade student, where do these items come from? What would their immediate response be? So this is your first chance to engage. So if you want to drop your thought in the Q&A, if you asked your students, where do these items come from? What would they say? Any ideas? Yeah, Kelly's the first one, Kelly Demore St. James, and Kimberly and Kim. Yeah, the store. And that totally makes sense, right? Because the most recent statistics from the USDA tell us that 98% of us are not involved in farming or agriculture. We just get to go to the store and buy the food and the clothing and the toilet paper that we need. Pizza Hut, I like it, whoever put that in there. Or a common response might be, I don't know. But, like most of us, like I was just saying, we get to go to the store and without really thinking about it, buy whatever it is we need. Agriculture literacy is all about thinking a couple steps before that store. And where do these items really come from? What is their original source? So let's take the cheese pizza, for example. If we think about the crust, the major ingredient in most pizza crust is wheat. And where does wheat come from? Well, it's grown on farms. If we think about the sauce, most pizza sauce is predominantly tomatoes. Where do tomatoes come from? They're grown on farms, and that farm could be really huge with acres and acres of tomatoes, or it could be really small. So those tomatoes come there. And cheese, where does cheese come from? Well, it's a product of milk, and milk comes from dairy cows that are grown on farms because, I don't know about you, but in Minnesota, we don't have a lot of cows that are just wild roaming around. They live on farms where farmers give them food and water and a shelter, and then they're milked a couple times a day to get that milk, and then it's used for cheese or ice cream or butter or all sorts of good things. So we can trace all of those ingredients that are used to create this pizza all the way back to a farm. And if we didn't have those farmers that were growing those crops and raising those animals, our pizza would be very much different or maybe non-existent. And we can do the same thing with, the sweater, scarf, sock combination. If it's wool that comes from sheep grown on farms, or it could be cotton, another fiber grown from plants. So we can trace those things back to a farm. And then finally, there's toilet paper. And this one gets a little bit tricky because trees are a natural resource, right? They just grow. They grow on, mountainsides and, sometimes in the cracks of our sidewalk where we don't want them, but trees do grow on their own. But here in Minnesota and other parts of the United States, we have tree farms where farmers plant trees, they care for them, and then they harvest them. And they're used for paper products or lumber or all sorts of things like that. So agriculture literacy is all about helping kids think a couple steps before a store or before a factory and thinking about those raw materials and where they come from. And that's what, Minnesota Agriculture in the Classroom, National Ag in the Classroom, we're all about helping people see that really important concept of how agriculture affects our life every day. Okay, enough about agriculture. Let's narrow it down to seeds. So I think seeds are pretty amazing. I don't know if I'm quite as excited as this girl in the picture, but maybe I'm close. So I want you guys, and maybe that's why you're here. Maybe you're excited about seeds, or maybe not quite as much, but think about it just for a second. Why seeds? Why can seeds be a really awesome learning tool in any K-12 classroom? I guess I shouldn't say any, in many K-12 classrooms. So think for a moment. If you have a thought, put it in the Q&A. Why seeds? Why are seeds something that you have used in your classroom, in your curricula, or something that you are maybe excited to use? So I'm going to wait for a couple minutes. Well, maybe not a couple minutes. I'll wait for a little bit and see if anyone has any thoughts, and then I'm going to share mine. So why seeds? Why are seeds something you're excited to use, or you're excited to have used with learners? Drop any thoughts you have in the Q&A. Ooh, Mary Allen is obsessed with seeds. She says, we have an outdoor garden. We're able to grow winter veggies last year. Awesome. You can see a plant grow from the very beginning. Life cycles, show transformation. You guys, these are fantastic. Seeds have instant growth. Yes, I love that when they sprout instantly. Kids can see results. Yes. To teach and show students the life cycle. Perfect. You guys, those are fantastic answers. And gosh, I don't know if I have any of those on my slide. We use them for sorting, for growing life cycles. It's easy to connect for most kids. Yeah, I would agree with all of those statements. I'm going to show you mine and see if you agree with them. Why seeds? In my opinion, here's a few reasons why I love to use seeds. Number one, they're cheap. They're very inexpensive. You can get seed packets sometimes at a store for, like this, for less than $1. Or when I wanted to do this workshop at the National Ag in the Classroom Conference, I checked with my Minnesota Horticulture Society, and they gave me I think it was 3 Ziploc gallon bags full of seed packets for free. Now, most of them were expired. It says sell by 12/23. So they're a little past prime, but still free. So they're inexpensive. They're easy to find. They're little objects and they come alive. I love that someone put that in the Q&A, because that kind of goes to my, I guess, fourth thing right here. But they're inexpensive. They're easy to find. They're very easy to transport from place to place, from classroom to classroom, and they're easy to store. You can put, like I said, hundreds of packets in a gallon Ziploc bag, put them in your cabinet. They're good for the next year. And some of you guys, I think we're getting to this in your Q&A submissions. It's pretty mind-blowing to take these tiny little seeds and they can grow into these huge plants that give us food or fiber or a beautiful flower or something like that. So depending on your mindset, it can be really pretty amazing, mind-blowing, and miraculous. And in my experience, I think there's lots of resources to support using seeds as a learning tool. So many of you, I'm assuming, are familiar with our National Ag in the Classroom curriculum matrix. If you are, then you can just sit back and relax for a moment. If you're not, prepare to have your mind blown, because in my opinion, this is a pretty amazing resource. So I'm just going to show you on a curriculum matrix, which is a searchable database of agriculture-themed lesson plans, all aligned with academic standards. So I just linked to our National Ag in the Classroom webpage, and I'm going to go right here. I'm in the Teacher Center. And I'm going to go to this curriculum matrix. So like I just said, this is a searchable database of agriculture-themed standards-based resources. And I'm just going to put seeds in as my keyword. So when I do that, there's 36 lesson plans. So that's the first part right here. And then I can also scroll down and find 108 companion resources. And companion resources are things like activities or books or videos, things that aren't a complete lesson plan, but can be supportive of lessons and activities, curricular activities that you're doing in your classroom. So 36 lessons, I mean, that's a lot. If you want to narrow it down a little bit, we can use the advanced search feature. So let's say you're teaching first grade. So then I could select the early K-12, or I'm sorry, the early elementary, which is kindergarten through second grade. I'm not looking at companion resources right now. I'm just going to look at grade level. So I also am just not going to select that box right there. Then in content area standards, let's say, you know what, I want to do something with seeds that is related to science for my first graders. The agriculture literacy outcomes are something that we use with Ag in the Classroom, probably not quite as important to you. Those are kind of like our standards or outcomes that we use when we're developing curricular tools, but I'm going to leave that blank. But I am going to go over here to Common Core. In first grade, you guys, reading is so important. So I'm going to see if I can find a lesson that is also connected to reading. So it has a seed connection. It's for early elementary, and it's connected to science and reading standards. So now I'm going to search again. And look at that. Now I have six lessons. So the first lesson that we're going to look at is my little seed house and seed book. So if I click on that, I just want to show you really quickly, our lessons are laid out, I think, in a really easy to follow way. So it gives you the grade, the purpose, the time. Here's all the materials that are needed. And this lesson has two activities. So, you know, as the teacher, you get to decide, do you want to do both activities? Maybe just the first one, the second one, whatever. These are the things that you need to do that. There's vocabulary, background information, and then here is the process to follow. So like I said, some of you are probably familiar, have looked at this curriculum matrix. If you haven't, do it because it's free and fast and easy to use. So that's why we're focusing on seeds. I think they're awesome. They're easy to find, they're cheap, and there's lots of supporting lesson plans, resources, books to use in your classroom to make it really, really awesome. So let's dive in. So first I want to talk about seed packets. So seed packets right here, easy to find. They sell them at, you know, grocery stores, garden centers. I feel like almost everywhere you can find these seed packets. They're relatively inexpensive, but they are packed with information. So I have spinach in my hand, but I took a picture of a beet package because let me tell you, I have two daughters, they're 14 and 12, and they used to hate beets. They would not even try them. And I was frustrated because I really like beets. But we planted like a bunch of different varieties, and this was their favorite that has the, I don't know, sort of a pinwheel target in the middle. And we've had so much fun trying out different beet recipes to try one that they like. And the most recent one that they like is beet hummus. So anyway, if you haven't tried beet hummus, let me know. I'll share my recipe. It got my tween girls to try beets and kind of like them. So anyway, I just said that these seed packets are packed with information. Has anyone used seed packets, or how have you used seed packets and the information on them with your students? Does anyone have an example of what sort of skills can be reinforced or introduced or somehow help students advance their skills in a particular area using seed packets? I'll get you started. If you have a thought or an example, please share it in the Q&A. Math, yes, thank you. That's the first thing that was entered in the Q&A. Thank you for being fast. If you have other thoughts, please add them. But we have an Ag Mag magazine series here in Minnesota. In our Ag Mag for second graders, which I'm going to click on this link and it's going to go right there, hopefully in a moment, we use the seed packets to introduce math. So there was a school here in Minnesota that used carrots and some winter sowing techniques to grow carrots in the winter because there just wasn't enough time to get carrots planted outside in the spring and ready to harvest before school is out, because some of you know winter in Minnesota is a little intense. So we highlighted Jefferson Elementary in New Ulm, Minnesota in our Ag Mag, how they use these winter sowing techniques. And then we had a packet of carrot seeds here on the bottom. And this is small, but if we would go in a little bit closer, you could see that it shows how many days until maturity. So math problem tells you if you planted the seeds on March 1st, when would the carrots be ready to eat? So that the student would use this number on the seed packet and tell us when those seeds would be ready to harvest. And yes, in the Q&A, can anyone access the Ag Mags? Yes, you can. The link is on the slides here. I'll put it in the chat as well. Actually, I can't do that right now, but I will in a moment. They are Minnesota specific. So if you're not from Minnesota, they might not be quite as applicable to you, but they're accessible online, and you can also order the pieces that are free as well. So yes, math, areas and time to plant, order small to large, depth of planting, days to harvest, smallest to longest. So all sorts of information can be found on these seed packets. And it's also a really great way to reinforce some technical reading for specific information. So yeah, seed packets are a really awesome tool for that. I would recommend trying that out with your students no matter what the age. Okay, now another thing that we can do with this seed packet is we can make a seed journal. So this is from the lesson that I just showed you really briefly on the curriculum matrix. It's linked right here, but it's called My Little Seed House and Seed Book Lesson. So students create a seed house, which you can check on the lesson, and use cotton balls to grow or to germinate seeds in a Ziploc bag that has this little house. But the thing that I have used this lesson for is creating a seed journal. So we create a seed journal using the seed packet. So I'm going to demonstrate the process. I also put it on the slides, but let me tell you, it's very easy to replicate. So the first thing that you do is you cut the top off of your seed packet. Now, sometimes when I am just so excited to plant seeds, I just rip the top off, Cutting it off is going to make a better journal, but even if you just rip the top off, it still will work with their journal. But I have a little Ziploc bag that I'm going to put my seeds in because I'm going to save these spinach seeds and plant them at another time. But so I cut the top off, then I cut off the right side, or I don't know, cut off. I'm going to cut open that side so it opens up, so it's no longer connected. And then I'm going to cut off the bottom. And I'm kind of trying to be careful to try to leave most of the information on the back and the front. But now this opens. So this is the little booklet. And now I want to put some paper on the inside so I can have multiple pages. So I just took regular, printer paper, cut it in strips, and I'm going to fold it in half. And then I'm going to put that fold in the middle of my little book. Now my paper is a little bit long, so I'm going to trim that off. You don't have to. I mean, it just depends what you want your seed journal to look like. So this is my journal. I have the front that shows the seeds that I'm growing. So, ideally you would use this journal to make observations, record what's going on with your plant, with your spinach seeds once I planted them and made observations, because then all of the information is right here. But I just put, gosh, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 6 pages, and to make this even more sturdy, you could staple the binding, or I'm just going to use a rubber band. And rubber bands can be tricky. Sometimes I'll see if it happens. When I put it on, this one works pretty well. Sometimes when you put the rubber band, like it sort of crunches the pages. So then you just need to stretch your rubber band or massage it a little bit, or maybe just try a different rubber band. But mine is working really well. So my rubber band serves as my binding. So it's kind of in the center fold. And then I have my pages. So then you ask the instructor can instruct students, hey, on page 1, let's, look at the seed and draw it and see what you notice, or list some observations, depending on the students, their age and abilities. Maybe you want them to draw a lot of pictures, or maybe you want them to practice using adjectives and describing words. Then you can have students make observations daily, weekly, however you want them to use this seed journal. It's yours to use. But I have found, even with middle and high school kids, this works really well to, record observations, to have a really easy way to have all of the information about this plant in the seed packet and what you see as it grows. So check out My Little Seed House and Seed Book if you want some more information, or maybe that was enough. Maybe you're ready to go make seed journals with students. And feel free to put any questions you have in the Q&A as we go. I'll try to watch that, or Kevin can help me and make sure we address any questions in the moment. All right, I'm going to move on to our next seed topic, and this is seed observations. So one of my favorite things to do with seeds is to do seed sorting. And I know someone put that in the Q&A earlier as something that they've done with seeds. Here in Minnesota, dry edible beans are a big deal. Minnesota and North Dakota have, it's called the North Harvest Bean Council. And between our 2 states, we grow a lot of beans, kidney beans, pinto beans, navy beans, all sorts of different beans. And in grocery stores, and this is probably nationwide, it's fun to look at the different beans that Minnesota grown and how they're mixed into this 15 bean soup. Now, not all 15 beans are Minnesota beans, but a lot of them. And you can see from this picture on the slides that there's lots of different colors and shapes and textures and sizes. So it is fun. What I've done is just given a little scoop up a Dixie cup of seeds and given each, group of 2 or 3 or however many students you have, and then have them dump it out on a sheet of paper and sort into their own categories, whatever they think they see in these seeds and how they're alike and how they're different. And that's what the seed sorting activity does, gives, ideas or instructions for that. Then have students compare. How did their sorting compare to other groups in their class? Then, this is the kicker, I have them mix the seeds back up together and resort using new categories. And you can also introduce the concept of dichotomous keys and have students create one, or maybe you can find a key online and have students use that key to identify which bean is which. So lots of fun things that you can do with seed sorting with beans, with bean seeds, which I should have said at the beginning. These are bean seeds, which for all different types of bean plants. Now, another fun thing, this is another opportunity to engage, is that this North Harvest Bean Council that I mentioned has a bean personality quiz. So if you are game, I will put the link in the chat. Sorry, I got to move things a little bit. And you can take this personality quiz, which I'll show you. It's very fast and it uses mostly pictures. So I will put this in, let's see, I will put this in the chat, I think. I'll stop sharing just for, oh, here we go. I'll put it in the chat and also in the Q&A. So use whichever one. Oh, I can't get to the Q&A. Okay, so I just put it in the, actually, Todd, you help me out. I put it in the chat. So I would like you guys, if you want.
I don't think they can see the chat, sorry. So
shoot.
I'm going to open up a question that was dismissed, and you can drop it right here under the thanks. So that's reopened, and there should be one there. You can just reply right there. Just drop the link in there.
Got it,
Yep.
Kevin. Thanks for working through this technology. Can you guys see that? Okay, so if you want to take the Bean Personality Quiz, I'll start it for you. It's very easy because all you have to do is look at pictures. So what is your perfect first date? You pick the picture. So take a minute. It only takes like a minute to do this if you are game. And then you can tell us what bean you are. And, you know, just to get us started, I classify as a pinto bean. Cranberry bean, congratulations. Those are very pretty beans. Mary Allen was very fast to take that. And maybe, oh, there we go, a pink bean. Joanne, that's a very uncommon one when I've done this. Not very many people are pink beans, so you must be truly unique. And I think maybe a few others are taking these. Clearly, this is not science-based. It's just kind of for fun, but it's also fun to do some research into what these different beans, what's unique about them, and how maybe your personality is somewhat connected. So sorting beans, bean personality quiz, very fun. Also in the seed observation realm where we're just looking at the seeds. Kimberly, you and I are both pinto beans. Another lesson that I really like that has students, elementary students, make some really cool observations just about the beans before they even start planting or thinking about that is the seed match lesson. So you can click on the link right here that'll bring you to the lesson in the curriculum matrix. But this is a worksheet that I just took a screenshot of. It has students look at seeds and hypothesize or kind of think through which food do they belong to, or which food would, if you planted them, they would grow into that. So, you know, these are the ones that are recommended: peanut, strawberry, squash, kiwi, apple, wheat, and bell pepper and edamame in the lesson, but you can do whatever, you know, whatever might be applicable to you or that's grown in your area, and have students look at the seed and look at the end product and see how they match up. So that's a really fun lesson that has students practice observation skills. All right, it looks like a few of you are sharing your bean personalities, which is fun. A black bean because you're playful, caring, and compassionate. Congratulations, those sound like fantastic characteristics. And there's another black bean identifier. So you guys, that's a fun quiz, I think. And if you chose to take it, thank you. If you didn't, you're lost. No, I'm just kidding. You could try it another day if you really are inclined. All right, so we're moving from seed observations. Now let's dive into another really fun thing to do with seeds is seed dissection. So there's two lessons that I've linked right here that have students dissect seeds. And one of my favorite seeds to dissect in Minnesota, with students here in Minnesota, are soybeans. Soybeans are a really important crop. There's acres and acres and acres of them grown here in our state. But they're kind of mysterious to kids because we don't eat soybeans whole. Like, I mean, you can harvest them in their green stage, and that's edamame. But most of the time, soybeans are grown until they're, you know, kind of this, I don't know, there's a picture of one right here at the top. They're kind of tan, light tan, and they're really hard. So what they're used a lot for is they're crushed, and soybean oil is a product that's used, you know, vegetable oil, that's mostly soybean oil. Or they're also ground into soybean meal that's used as a protein source for a lot of livestock animals. So we grow a lot of them. We grow a lot of soybeans in Minnesota, but kids are like, I've never seen them before, or I don't even really know what they look like, or I've heard of soybeans, but I don't know anything about them. So it's fun to introduce students to what soybeans look like as a seed, or what's actually harvested from the plant, and then also do some dissection. So here at the top is a soybean seed. And I soaked it in water for a couple hours, and it has doubled in size. So I actually just took this picture like 20 minutes before Jacqueline was speaking. So a soybean seed, when you just soak it for a couple hours, it almost doubles in size. If I would soak this overnight, it would get maybe even triple in size. So in order to do dissection for soybean seeds anyway, soaking them in water is a must. If you don't soak them in water, you can't dissect them. It's just too tricky. But what we can do with this water-soaked soybean seed, which, gosh, I don't know, I have it right here, is we can dissect that. We can pull the parts apart. Most seeds, and we're talking very basic, most seeds have three major parts. And the soybean seed, or any sort of those bean seeds, you know, pinto, navy, pink, cranberry bean, those are all pretty easy ones to dissect. So I tell students the first thing we're going to use is some really high-tech dissection tools, your fingers. And which I know, I'm joking, I'm being sarcastic, but it is kind of fun to make this seem really, you know, technical and really scientific for kids. So the first thing I say with your first two dissecting tools, your thumb and your pointer finger, if you rub them together, and I rub hard, I can feel some heat. I can feel that friction is making my fingers heat up. That's too hard. When we are dissecting, we're going to use a light touch. So we should not feel any heat between my fingers. I'm still using that friction, but I'm not going to press hard. Sometimes that's tricky because we don't want our students to like mutilate the seeds. We want to be able to see these seed parts. So I'm going to use that between my thumb and my pointer finger. I'm just going to use a light sort of, I don't know, brushing between them. And I'm going to use that. I'm going to brush this off and I'm going to take off the seed coat. Now, some seeds have colored coats. This soybean seed, which I maybe have it out of the water too long. Well, I scratched a little bit too much. But this soybean seed has a clear coat. So I can take it off, and I don't know if you can kind of see that. This is the seed coat. And if I soak this in water a little bit longer here, that came off a little bit better. It sometimes comes off as a whole piece where we can see the whole seed together. I'll have another one soaking in water. I'll maybe try this one and see if it comes off a little bit better. But I'm going to use that light friction. Oh yeah, this one's coming off better. I'm going to use that light friction and I'm going to take this seed coat off. So if we were all in person, I would have you guys do this and you would see how easy it is. I'm just using that light friction. And here, that one came off kind of all in one piece, if you can kind of see this. So if you are ready to type, or maybe you've been thinking, why does a seed have a seed coat? What is the purpose of this? And most seeds do have a seed coat. Sometimes it's even pointy or has little spikes in it. Sometimes it's colored. Sometimes it's really hard. This one is just pretty thin. And like I said, it's clear. Yes, Kimberly, for protection. So that seed coat protects the inside of this of the seed, sort of like our skin protects our bones and inner organs. So that's one part of the seed. The second part, and this soybeans and other beans are part of the scientific plant family called dicots, which means di means two in Latin, and cot is short for cotyledon. So I can take what's left of my seed and I can easily split into two halves. So I'm going to just put my fingernail kind of in the middle, and it's going to split. Gosh, this is hard to show. This is going to split into two halves. So those are the two cotyledons. And cotyledon is a great vocabulary word to introduce to older students. And I forgot to show you guys in my slides here. Here's a worksheet that goes with the Seed Miraculous Seeds lesson. So we have the seed coat, the food supply. That's what the cotyledon is. It's full of starch and energy to get this seed ready to sprout or germinate. And then the final part, which I kind of mutilated a little bit, but this one you can maybe see, is there's a little tiny, you can kind of see it, a little tiny sprout or embryo. That's our baby plant that's going to shoot out of this seed and going to be the stem and the first parts of this plant that we're able to see when it starts to grow. So we just sacrificed, I actually sacrificed 2 soybean seeds, but when we dissect, we don't expect these seeds to grow because we've taken all the parts off. But this is super easy to dissect seeds. I mean, we could have students do a variety of different seeds and look at these 3 different parts and how they're the same and how they're different, and think about the function they have as the plant starts to grow and germinate and grow above ground. So lots of really cool things that we can do in the seed dissection. However, like I just said, those seeds are not going to grow. So if these seeds are ones that you want to plant in the ground and grow into plants, I would not recommend dissecting them. Hopefully you have another set of seeds that you can use for that. So we talked about seed packets, making a seed journal. We talked about seed observations, seed dissection. Now we're going to go into seed germination. So this is the magic. This is where, in my opinion, the magic happens. We have these seeds, you know, this bag of spinach seeds that I took out of that seed packet. They're really, you know, not that exciting. They're just kind of sitting here. But then we add the essential elements of moisture, of sunlight, of heat, and sometimes some other seeds need some other things, but then they sprout and they're alive. I mean, you guys, this is amazing. So seed germination, in my opinion, is where it's at. So there's many different opportunities or ways that we can germinate seeds with students. First, we can just plant it in soil. I mean, that is age-old way of growing seeds. This is the fun one that I've seen a couple different ways where we have soil in a cup. And in this one, students, got to make funny faces, and those pictures were put on the cups. And then grass seed was planted in soil. And grass seed is really awesome. It grows very fast. You can cut the grass into, mohawks or really cool hairdos, and then it'll grow back and you can, try again. So growing seeds in soil is great. It works with grass, beans, I don't know, all sorts of different seeds you can plant in soil. You can do it outside. You can do it in cups or containers indoors. Lots of different options. And maybe some of you guys have some really fantastic stories you could share about that. Sometimes it goes really well. Sometimes, it's hard to get the right moisture or the temperature, or the lighting is a little bit tricky. And that's all part of learning. I mean, that's part of about growing things. So that's one option. When you plant seeds in the soil, it's tricky to see anything because they're underground, right? They're in the soil. So there's a few other options that maybe let us see more as that seed is sprouting. So two that have been kind of tried and true in our Ag in the Classroom world are living necklaces and farming in a glove. So this is actually my daughter, who's now 12. This was a couple years ago, but we call this a living necklace. So as you can see, it's just a jewelry sized Ziploc, little tiny Ziploc. And I got these at Michael's. They're, meant for little jewelry. You can get them online, lots of different places. I would recommend getting ones that have holes already punched in the top. You can punch them yourself with hole punches, but man, if they come with holes punched in the top, that saves us a lot of time. And, hole punchers kind of wear out after a while. So there's a hole at the top. You put a yarn through that. You get a cotton ball moist. And then you put some seeds in there and they sprout. And it's very, very fun in my experience with younger grades to see how excited they are about these seeds. They can make observations. We could use that soybean seed as an example, how in just an hour or two, it'll almost double in size because it's soaking up moisture from the cotton ball. Or, you can see the seed coat start to crack just a little bit. So having students make those observations and see all of those tiny changes is really pretty amazing and sometimes mind-blowing. And, I won't say that these are foolproof because sometimes not every seed grows or sprouts or germinates, but a large majority do. So it's really fun. And you can do a lot of different things with these living necklaces. I was in a second grade classroom where the teacher had half of the students wear their necklaces like inside their sweatshirts or shirts, and half of the students wear their necklaces on the outside of their clothing. And their thought, or the group consensus for this class, was the ones that had their necklaces on the outside of their clothing would sprout first because they got more light. But they were proved wrong. The kids who had theirs tucked in their sweatshirts or their clothing next to their body sprouted first. Why do you think that is? Well, I will tell you, it's because of body heat. So you think of second graders, yeah, thank you, heat. Yeah, they have a lot of heat, a lot of action going on. So that heat caused the seeds to sprout faster. Where light is important, but it turns out not quite as important as that body heat. So lots of experiments or things that you could do. I will say that a lesson that I've learned is a lot of times kids like to seal the tops of these necklaces. And that reduces airflow and can sometimes cause the seeds and cotton ball to get a little moldy. So leave the top open, get some airflow in there so that they don't get moldy and gross. A similar idea using cotton balls and seeds is farming in a glove. So you can see, this is just a plain old plastic like food service glove that you can put a cotton ball with seeds in each finger. And this one has a variety of seeds. This is actually a kit that you can purchase from National Ag in the Classroom where you get, I think it's 30, enough to make 30 of these. So 30 gloves, 30 times 5 cotton balls, that seeds. So 30 students can make a garden and a glove using this kit. And I think it's around $12, but you can obviously get these materials on your own. You could grow many different, seeds in the fingers. It could be a pizza glove where you have tomato seeds, basil seeds, oregano, peppers, whatever, pizza toppings. Or you could do a Three Sisters glove where the 3 sister crops, corn, beans, and squash or pumpkins. You could have, we could have sweet corn, dent corn, pinto beans, soybeans, and pumpkins. We could have a 3 sisters glove. There's different ideas or themes in the lesson, or you could just, do a random mix of seeds in the gloves. You could also play around with the conditions in the different fingers. So, you could cover one with black paper so it has no light. You could give one more water. You could, give one orange juice, see how that affects. So it's actually like a mini growth chamber in each of the little fingers. So lots of different things that we could do within that farming in a glove. So lots of ideas for seed germination, which, like I said, this is where the magic happens with seeds. But after you get that germination, then we get to grow those plants. So once again, there's growing so many different options. You can grow them in classroom settings. You can grow them in garden, outdoor spaces. You could, I don't know, any place in between, lots of different options. There was, within some of the teachers here in Minnesota, there was a lot of interest, or still is, lots of interest in saving seeds. And actually in Minnesota, in Vergas, Minnesota, there's a company called North Circle Seeds. And when I submitted this workshop proposal in October for the national conference, we were working with them, or not working with them. They were working on creating a series of seed saving videos. And like most projects, it's taking them a little longer than anticipated. So if you go to this link, they have 2 videos up, I think, last time I checked, which was yesterday. They had tomatoes and carrots. So how to save seeds for tomatoes and how to save seeds for carrots. They're working on additional ones, but those 2, you can check them out. Tomato is a little bit of a more intense process, because if you've eaten a tomato, you slice it open and there's the tomato seeds inside, but they're kind of wrapped in this sort of gelatinous liquid that you need to deal with that when you're saving seeds. Carrots are a little bit more straightforward, but also have their challenges. So I want to share with you a personal example that I have with saving seeds and marigolds. So moral of the story, check out the North Circle Seeds website today, or soon, but also revisit, because they're going to be adding more seed saving videos and how to do that with different vegetables. But my experience is with marigolds. Yes, and I just see in the Q&A the QR code. I will have it on the last slide. So in just a couple, you'll be able to scan it again. So my experience is with marigolds and my grandmother. So I grew up, like I said, a farm family in southwestern Minnesota. My grandma was the matriarch of our farm family, and she grew a huge garden, but she also really loved flower gardening and would grow, gosh, I don't know, maybe 20 different varieties of marigolds. And she's still alive. She's 96, but her gardening days are through. She's got arthritis in her knees and just isn't quite as able-bodied as she used to be. But this is just from, I think, 2 years ago. My 2 daughters, their names are Alyssa and Maria, and my grandma, collected from these, I don't know, hundreds of marigolds. She saved seeds and she put them in old spice jars, spice containers. And she has 18 great-great-grandchildren, and each great-great-grandchild, my daughters are 2 of them, got these, actually not great-grandchildren, 17 of them, each of them got these little containers of marigold seeds from her. And I helped her, like, gosh, so many years. I remember as a kid collecting those dried marigolds in the late summer, early fall, and just shaking the seeds into these containers so that they could be reused. So this picture at the very top, let me see if I can get my mouse over there. This picture at the very top right here, that's the dried marigolds. So we would just pick those out of her flower gardens. And this is what the marigold seed looks like. And maybe you guys have seen these before. It kind of looks like a long, like just little stick. And the bottom part is kind of this black, and then the top part is the light tan. And that's what we would plant to grow seeds. So we would pick this dried marigold, and then we would just shake it. And you can kind of see, like, when we would shake it, it would look like this. And sometimes, you would use your fingers and peel it apart. But most of the time we would just shake that dried marigold head and get these seeds. And you can see there's some dried petals, and that's no big deal. And then we put them in these dry containers. Dry is the key word. If there's any moisture, it's going to get moldy and kind of gross. But just let them dry on the plant in the flower garden, collect those flower heads, and then just shake the seeds off of them and then save them. And I would say that our germination rate is less than if you would purchase a seed packet, but it's still been really pretty good. So that's seed saving. The final thing, and I know we're running out of time here, is seed tape. So this is really fun to just prepare, like, seeds that sometimes get really tiny and hard to spread out in a garden or in planting, where you space them out. And you can kind of see this. We used a mixture of 1 part flour and 1 part water. You put that little paste how you want the seeds spread out. Then you use a toothpick, put a seed in each spot, and then you fold that toilet paper, that's what we were putting this on, in half, roll it up, and then unroll it, water it, and then your seed sprouts with perfect spacing. So my time is almost up. Let me go to my last slide that has that QR code. So scan that, you'll get these slides. And Kevin, did I miss any questions or anything that we need to do before we wrap up?
You are golden. Everything was awesome. And I can't tell you how many people are going to be doing more seed stuff already. So lots of great ideas, lots of great classroom activities all set to go. We'll take just a minute. If there's any other questions, you want to put those in the Q&A. We'll take a minute to talk about that. And while we're on, Sue, I can't let you go. I'm going to make sure they ask Carrie this too, but give them one plug why they need to come to Minnesota next year.
Well, you get to hang out with like 600 of your closest friends who are also excited about agriculture. We're in the planning stages, but we hope to have some really fantastic and motivating speakers, really awesome workshops. My favorite part about these these conferences is getting to tour and look at agriculture in other parts of the country. So we are lining up some different farms and agricultural sites to visit that we hope will be really, really fun and engaging for you guys to see. So come visit us next June.
Again, so excited about that. Sue has provided you the link to her PowerPoint. That's on there. It's also been answered. And also check out their website. Hey, folks, for anybody who doesn't know this, if you go to agclassroom.org, just type in agclassroom.org and then do / and the 2-letter postal abbreviation, so MN for Minnesota, IL for Illinois, you'll go right to their website as well. So just a little cheat sheet for you. Some of us have different email, have different website addresses, but that's another way that you can get there. But we posted that again. Sue, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Look forward to the rest of your summer as we gear up for school. So again, thank you so much. Lots of informative information. Thank you to Sue Knott for joining us. Again, you're here for the virtual National Ag in the Classroom Conference sponsored by CHS. That's another Minnesota connection right there, CHS, and also BASF. We'll be right back at the top of the hour. Next up is an early childhood education unit from Mandy Bottoms and our fine friends from California. Glad that they're up joining us already early. It is now 10:45 here in the Central Time Zone, so we'll be back at the top of the hour. Thanks again, Sue, and we look forward to seeing you all shortly.
Thank you.